Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we're taking a look at a trailer. This is the Hobby Details trailer. It's a 1/16 to 1/18 flat trailer with loading ramps, which is pretty sweet. We're going to take a look at this guy. You got to build it. Let's go ahead and open this box up, show you what's in there. Instructions. So we're going to have to do some building. This guy's also lighted. There's a battery box. It's on these springs. Look at that. Boom. One of the things from the pictures, it seems like it rides kind of high, so we might try to figure out some sort of modification there. I like the presentation. This is nice. There's two different ones. One that's completely black. Everything's black. The deck's black. The rails are black. Everything. And then there's this guy. They're calling it or titanium, but it's not. Just the color is more of a silver or a bronze, if you will. I like it. Lots of little parts and pieces. Oh, even the fenders are metal. I thought these were going to be plastic. These are metal fenders. Nice. This guy's going to be heavy duty for sure. It's kind of big, but I think it's just big enough to fit like a FCX monster truck or a TRX 4M monster truck, which is nice. So basically your largest mini scale truck should fit on there. We'll see. We've got a couple different options to show once it's built. So let's dive into it. Well, here's everything that's in the box, plus our main deck. Got our lighting kit, a bunch of hardware, leaf springs. Looks like our leaf spring blocks, all that kind of stuff. The tongue, probably a bracket for that, the hardware for that. A bunch of little bits and pieces here. Our ramps. This is all metal, guys. Everything is metal. I haven't found anything plastic as far as this stuff is concerned, except for our battery box for our switch. For our lights, our axles seem pretty heavy duty, so that's cool. Our side rails, aluminum, and then our fenders, also metal. Our tires here, these guys are very stiff. Again, you don't need a ton of traction because you're not trying to crawl with these guys, but whatever foam is in there is like way stiff. These are not beadlocks. They're just regular, kind of friction held with a really, really stiff foam in there. You could replace the foam if you cared, but the idea with the stiffer foam is because you're going to have a lot of weight on this guy. So you'd rather the tire keep its shape and not, run flat, essentially, like you would if you're crawling. So that is fine, but they are stiff. The tire compound itself, it's got some grip, some stickiness, a little bit. So I dig that, but they're way stiff, and again, they're not beadlocks, which is unfortunate. It would have been nice if they were beadlocks. Also, it would have been nice if they used a standard hex, just in case you want to change to other 1.0s. But they're just using what they've got here. It's probably just a bearing that sits on there, and then the bearing will spin directly on the axle. That's my guess. Either way, worst case, if you needed to glue them, you could, but I highly doubt you're going to need to do anything on these guys. I mean, I'm pushing on them pretty good. They're not popping off. You have to push pretty hard to get it to come off the wheel there. So that's good. I do like the design. They're pretty cool. Just would have been nice to be able to swap over to, a standard hex. You might be able to make an adapter or something if you really, really wanted to. But this should be fine. This should be fine. All right, let's go ahead and start building it. Now, I don't know how much I want to show. The instructions are pretty straightforward. You probably don't want to watch me build the whole thing. I'm going to build it, and if I have any issues come up or any points of tip, finding how to basically put a part together easier or something along those lines, I'll stop and I'll say, because I'm not going to show the whole build here. All right, I'll be back when we have an issue or a tip. So I guess the first part's going to be this little bag with the little hardware here. It comes with all these screws. These are M2.5 by 8s and M2.5 by 6s, and then your little 2.5 nylocks, little nylon nuts. These are here, and L's. Okay, we're just going to throw all the screws in on this. we're going to try to use just one of these. Comes with it. Should lay in there just good. And if you need to, you can always use a set of pliers or, you know, whatever else you have. Just this is right here, so we figured we'd use it. Make sure you have these guys facing the right way. The top deck should be like that. Just be aware you may need to back off some of these screws if you tighten them down super tight to get the other screws to align if you didn't have all the screws in before you tightened them up. If you tighten them all the way down, sometimes the screw holes may be just a little off, and then you'll have an issue. And then once you have all of the screws in, you can snug them down. Mind you, we pretty much snugged them all down as we went. The only spot was the last one we had, which was right here. We just had to loosen these guys up just a little bit right here so that we could get the hole to align. Not a huge deal. Again, it's kind of a given. Usually you don't want to tighten everything down until everything's lined up and you have your screws in all the holes. But yeah, that one we just had to loosen these 4 in the corner, and then we were able to kind of push it down and get it to line up. But yeah, looks good. Pretty easy. Just a little tedious. You know, there's a lot of screws, but that's to be expected. Kind of fun if you're just looking for a little project and putting some nuts and bolts in and building something cool. This is definitely cool. All right, we're going to do the next step, which is doing the axles and the leaves. The leaf springs. And this is where it's probably going to sit pretty high, but we'll see. Like I said, I think Matt over at 2FM had done one of these, and he mentioned a mod. My guess is he probably flipped them. I didn't watch the video, but he probably flipped them, or he maybe trimmed the blocks down. Although you can't really trim these down. So we'll see when we get there. My guess is, just like on the Jimny, there's a 1/6 FMS Jimny. Everybody likes to flip the leaves to the bottom to raise it. So maybe we'll flip the leaves to the top, the axles to the bottom, which is how this is. Maybe we'll just flip it the other way. We'll see. So this is the axle parts bag. All the leaves. So cool. Our shackles. There's the bearings. Alrighty. So I guess first thing we'll do is build our center shackle here. Looks like they're all going to use these same longer nuts or bolts. All right, so the previous were 1/5s. I think these new ones are going to be 2s. Yep, they're a 2. Alright, so we have our leaves and shackles built. Both sides. Just make sure you put all your nuts and bolts in the same direction, and then you're going to want to have your bolt head facing towards the outside, towards the wheels, essentially, so it looks nice and clean. At least in my opinion. That's kind of how you want to do it, right? So what we're thinking here is, instead of using blocks, right, because you use the block on top and then the spring on top of that, right? And that's why they're sitting so high. One option is to flip the block to the bottom and then put it on the inside, but that gives you, I mean, that's a huge difference in ride height. So my concern is that you're going to end up rubbing the tires, and it's hard to know until you get it all together. The problem is once you get it all together, you got to take it all back apart to flip these over. So I think we're going to do it without a block, without the block at all. We're just going to go straight to the axle, from the leaves straight to the axle, and that'll drop us just a couple millimeters here, just this amount basically. Actually a little less than that because the leaves sit into that channel. So it'll drop it from there to there, a couple millimeters. We'll see how that sits, and if we need to flip it to the other side, we can, and then if we need to lower it even more, we can add the blocks back in. Because, like I said, worst case, flipping it to the other side, then you'll sit like this, right? You'll sit on top of the springs, and that'll lower it quite a bit as well. So we'll just see where we're at when we get it together, I guess. Just kind of sucks. We got to put it all together just to take it back apart to figure it out. But we'll let you know what we think is the best ride height. And it may depend on how you want to do your ride height. You know, if you want it real, real low, then maybe you do want to flip it and have the block. We'll see. Now, my main concern with without using these blocks is the twist that could happen here, right? Because these blocks actually lock to the axle, right? And then the leaves sit in the channel. So that helps prevent the helper leaf, this guy right here, from spinning. It holds it basically in line with the other top spring. So that's just my only concern, is that these helper leaves might spin and, you know, turn a little bit, or that there might be a little bit of side to side. I don't think that's really going to be an issue. Well, you can kind of see there. See how it's kind of coming, not off, but it's just rotating a little. So we'll see once it's mounted, if it feels like there's play or like it's going to move in a weird way, we will change it. But I think once it's bolted down, I don't think that's going to matter. Once everything's, you know, once you have all your bolts in all your spots. So we'll just see. Again, I just want to get the ride height right. I don't want to see too much or too little or rubbing or whatever. So this gives us a little bit finer adjustment to start. And then again, if we need to flip them, we can. And if we need even to lower it even more, we can add the blocks back in. Another option is to shim these. If you lower it too much, you can shim all these mounting points and just put a little bit of space in there. And that'll also raise it back up away from the trailer and make it so you're not going to rub. We'll see how this one does. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get our fenders on, and then we can really see how it sits. It looks like it's going to be fine. I mean, we could probably flip them to the top of the spring, flip the axle to the top if we really wanted to. That would also put our bolt head on the bottom and get rid of this extra that's showing, because it's supposed to be going through the block, right? So maybe we could do that if we want to get just a little bit lower, which would be nice, because I don't want to have to shim the actual blocks here. So I think worst case, we'll flip the axle to the top of the spring here. But let's go ahead and get our fenders on. It looks like it might be fine. Like, that's pretty good. I mean, we could get a little lower. I just don't want to rub when we're have weight on there, right? Because you're going to put weight on there. These are pretty stiff, but over time they'll also get a little weaker, and so you don't want to make it so that when they start to compress with weight on there, then they rub. All right. Your fender screws are in with your light box stuff. It's these screws here. They're the 6mm, 2.5 by 6 millimeters. Again, they just go straight into the trailer bed and wall. Pretty simple. Now, if you notice these guys backing out or anything, you're definitely going to want to Loctite them. I don't know how hard we're going to be driving this trailer, but we'll see. And if they start to back out, we'll definitely Loctite them. You can get them pretty snug. This aluminum is pretty good. All right, well, I think this will be fine, guys. Because once you put just a little bit of weight on there, yeah, you don't want to get too much lower, I don't think. Getting too much lower would definitely rub. Again, I think it's going to really depend on how much weight you're putting on the trailer. And if we were to flip these to the inside, we would probably be... we'd be going up as much as the axle is, right? So the axle's 8 millimeters. That means we'd be moving up 8 millimeters. So we'd be tucked right in there. And that's with it having no weight on it. So I figure put a little bit of weight on there, 8 millimeters, you're basically rubbing. You could do it again though, but just be aware that you're probably going to rub a little bit under full compression. These are pretty stiff though, so I mean, maybe it's not a big deal. I don't think it'd be a huge deal. Again, I'm not overly worried about it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll get it all together, get a truck on there, see how it looks. Maybe later we'll come back and we'll flip the axles completely to the top of the spring.
A few moments later.
All right, guys. So I think I do want to flip it. Went ahead and throw it. This is one of our heavier trucks. It's got a bunch of brass on it and whatnot. Brass wheels, brass axles. It's like 770 grams, and it doesn't even move the springs. They're that stiff. So they're pretty stiff, which means we can lower it quite a bit. We can lower it, a lot, I think, before it'll start to rub under weight because they're so stiff. Now, maybe over time as those leaf springs break in, maybe you'll have some issues, but I doubt it. Again, we definitely can lower it a little bit. I kind of wish that these naturally set just a little further apart like that. Lowering it's not going to separate the wheels and tires more. It's just going to bring them straight up, right? The only way to separate the wheels and tires more is to pull these blocks out. These blocks here and here. Move them out, and that'll help flatten the spring. Or just over time as they wear, they'll get flat, and that's going to help separate them, right? So anyway, I think we're just going to go ahead and flip these to the top. We might as well while we're in here. And then we'll see how much lower it gets. It should be right about where we want it, actually. I was just worried that if we put a heavy rig on there, it would drop it, and then we'd be rubbing. But I don't think that's going to happen again. This guy's 770 grams, and it's not even affecting the springs, the leaves. So, alrighty, let's flip it. So it should be as simple as just popping out the 4 screws here. These 4. And then we can just flip these up and get access to the bolt. Yeah. We can just unscrew this guy. There you go. That's the ride height difference. So under compression, it will rub. But I'm not worried about that. I'd rather have it, again, they're so stiff. It's just barely, if you're hitting some real craziness, maybe it'll rub a little, but I think that's going to work a lot better. Yeah. Yep. All right, let's get the other side on. And then we'll do this side, and then we'll be back.
More moments later.
Bam! I think that looks a lot better. We still have plenty of travel for the compression. And again, putting a heavy ass truck on there doesn't even seem to phase it. So I'm not too worried about rubbing. Seems good. Plenty of clearance. Yeah. I think we're fine. I mean, it'll rub if you push it all the way down, but it's never going to get pressed that far down. Like I said, it's pretty stiff. It's got just enough to absorb. So I think that's the answer, guys. If you do yours, just flip it to the top. The only concern is going to be these helper leaves. If for some reason they rotate out or something, if that happens, you can try putting them on the inside versus the outside, but really you kind of want them on the outside. And then worst case, I guess you could take a piece of thin wire, like a zip tie, not a zip tie, but like the bread ties, those little twisty ties, pull off the outside so it's just the wire and wrap it around, and that'll help keep these from moving left and right. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that's an issue at all. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's not an issue. I'm just saying, worst case, you can always figure out an answer. But yeah, all right, we're going to get the rest together. We can get our loading ramps on, our neck here, and our battery box with our lights and all that good stuff. So all these little guys right here are to clean up the wiring underneath. You can see here, little tabs for cleaning up the wiring underneath. And then this guy has got our light buckets, I guess is what you'd call them. Basically the little buckets for the lights. Pretty slick. Those just screw in right here on the sides. I think the rest of this is for the battery box. We're going to go ahead and throw our ramps on here. Just uses these little guys. One on each side, basically. The nylon lock nut, or nylock, on the inside here. And again, we're not going to tighten them all the way down, just enough until we can get the other side on, because we definitely need to make sure. Oh, you know what? There's different size. Are these different? Hold on. This one might be too short. Yeah, we need the longer screws. That's fine. We'll get this guy on and then we'll swap it over. The main thing here is just to make sure that your bolt goes all the way through the nylon portion on both sides. That way you know that the nylock is doing its job and it's going to hold those nuts on the ends of the bolts. All right, then we're going to get our little key rings and our chains to hold up our ramps. A little pro tip here. See if I can show you. It's going to be tiny, so you got your little key ring. You've got your chain here. Just get the last link, or second to last link, hold there, and then you can just kind of push that link into the key ring. See? It'll just separate it like that. See how I just separated it? And you can then slide it over it. That way you're not trying to stick your nail underneath there and stabbing yourself and whatever. Just kind of, there you go. You use the chain to push the ring apart. Again, I know it's obvious. Some people, though, some people need a little help, and I want to make sure I show that. So same thing with this guy. You can just hold your keyring portion and your hook, and then you can just push on the ring. Boom. And you're good to go. All right, guys. I know, obvious. But if there's kids or somebody who's never really done anything like this before, sometimes those little tips help. Now this guy here is going to be kind of a pain in the butt. So you have to get it through this thick piece. Okay, so that's where you might need to use your nail, or we can try using a tool of some kind, like a screwdriver, flathead, just to kind of separate it. Here, let's show you. So here's a flathead. You can stick that flathead in between, boom, like that, opens it right up, okay? And then it'll help you push it in a little closer to the opening here. And that'll help you get it into the hole, like that, and then you can twist it through. Just like so. Simple. This little guy hooks on, boom. Pretty cool, guys, pretty cool. Heck, it might be easier to put the key ring onto the trailer first and then put your chain onto the key ring. Either way, both are pretty simple. Ta-da! I dig that. It's fun. Chains make it look a little more scale, you know. All right, let's get the gooseneck, the neck, the tongue. Get that put on there. So our mounting plate here can be adjusted up and down, so you can adjust how high or low you want to mount the tongue here. Just be aware that you have to have room for the screws that come in behind, right? So I couldn't put this down or up one more. I could not put this here, right, from this screw hole up, because then our bolt wouldn't fit. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, other than that, you can adjust it up and down a little bit, which would be helpful depending on the ride height of the truck that's pulling it. In hindsight, maybe I should have put the screw in first. I don't think it matters, actually. Just hitting my screwdriver on the axle. I was thinking maybe we should have attached the tongue to the plate first, but again, I don't think it's that big of a deal. We got enough angle. There we go. Again, if you're going metal into metal, you should probably Loctite it. We aren't right now because the Loctite's upstairs. Again, it's one of those situations where I think I'm too lazy to go get the Loctite, and then it's probably going to bite me in the butt later. But we'll see. We'll see how much we actually run this guy. It might end up just kind of being a Shelf Queen with another Shelf Queen truck and just looking cool with the trailer. But we're definitely going to use a little bit. Just a matter of how much. We'll see. And if we start to see stuff back out, then we definitely will Loctite it. But we're able to tighten it down pretty good, so I'm not overly worried about that. All right, so this guy here has one of these. Now, I'm not really the biggest fan of this style of hitch. I kind of like the one that the T-Truck comes with, which is just like a tie rod link end, where it's just a ball, just like a real trailer, where it's a ball cup, and then you just kind of pop it onto an actual hitch ball, kind of like the Traxxas actually has. I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. I'd like to be able to just pop it off. I don't want to have to use a screw. It's kind of annoying if I have to use a screw and screw it into the hitch. And actually, I just realized I don't think this trailer comes with a hitch, so that's unfortunate. There's no hitch of any kind, so that's rough. You'll have to pick up a hitch or fashion a hitch in some way. Bummer, bummer, bummer. We may end up changing this to just like I said, a ball cup link end. We'll use it the same size as what's on all the other trailers and trucks that we have for our small stuff. Because I like to just be able to pop the trailer on, pop the trailer off. You know, just kind of. Looks like we have some like extra. Oh, these are probably for the box. We have 2 screws there. Those are for the lid of the box. Yeah, those are for the lid. So these 2 countersunks are for the inside here. You know, I don't know what. I guess this guy's probably for the hitch. Yeah, that's my guess. Again, don't know what kind of hitch we're going to use. That's pretty annoying. Might be able to pop this ball joint. So one of the other trailers uses this type of link end versus a cup. So I wonder if they're the same size. They might be. All right. So next, we're just looking at putting together this guy. The lighting. Should be pretty simple. So we'll see how that goes. This guy's going to go in the lid. I guess you have these extra pieces. I'm going to throw this guy on here. That'll help kind of hold it up against the plastic. Doesn't show that on the instructions though. Then we'll go ahead and just throw our screw on here. Actually, you know what we can do? This should be fine. Let's see. You can always take, there's two, you get two of these, so maybe one on the inside, one on the outside. Let's do that. Pop this guy off. Go like so. And then like so. Yep. Just adjust this to get just the right amount of height that you want the switch sticking out. Actually, we want the switch facing this way. That way it'll sit a little more flush. Yeah. Looks good. Okay. Our battery box and our cable and all that goodness I guess just gets tucked all in here. Let's just go ahead and tuck all this in there for now. And well, let's figure out how our lights go actually before we start tucking it. So this guy is going to go in here. All right, so we're basically going to be going like so. So we're going to go ahead and mount our brackets on the lights here, and then we can figure out how much slack we have and whatever, tuck it in the box. We'll start at the back, which I can't really show on camera very easily while I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it, and then we'll do the front. All right, well, we got it all wired up. Just using our little brackets here, making sure that we tried to pull out all the tension or all the looseness and get it as far forward as we could so that our cable here will be able to tuck into the box without showing any of the red wire. It's just a little short. I wish we had just like an extra 4 or 5 millimeters on there. Help tuck it in there and keep the red out of there, but you're probably going to be able to see the red. It's okay. We got our batteries in here. It's just 2 AAAs. And check this out. Boom, lights. They're on the side. They're red. And then there's actually, it's a 3 position, so you can do hazards. So pretty cool, pretty cool. I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could wire this up in a way to the RC itself. Basically get rid of your battery box here and your switch, and you can just wire it straight into a control box that you would have to then have a plug when you unhook your trailer from the RC, but then you can control it from your remote. So pretty cool there. But if you want to just run it from here, you can just run it from here. Pretty simple. And we'll go ahead and tuck all this into here and screw it down. Pretty simple. The build probably take you about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending. I mean, we've been working on it longer than that because we've got the camera in front of us. But yeah, realistically, you could have it done in about an hour and a half. Maybe a little faster if you're not interrupted at all or stopping or trying to find parts. But yeah, pretty fun little build. I definitely dig the way it looks. It is pretty wide. Let me get a truck on here again. So that's this is, well, it's not really a Max Smasher. It doesn't have the super wide on there, but it is the Smasher body. It's on a crawler chassis though. That's why it's super heavy. It fits, obviously. Let me get something a little larger. So here's a Camel Trophy. That's the TRX4M. So you can see there. So you push it all the way to the side. I do wish this guy was just a little more narrow. That's a lot of extra space there. But as far as the ramps are concerned, just about the right track width. Here's the new K5, the FMS K5. Okay. And if you made this into a monster truck, then you would need the width. Like if you're trying to run a monster truck on there, we definitely need that width. Actually, let me grab one. So this guy here is on some FCX axles. Oh, look at that. Oof, it doesn't fit. I mean, it'll fit. You just tuck it in there. But it is dang close. You may not be able to just drive it up in there because you'll probably end up sitting right on top. So you'll have to tuck it in a little. But this is on FCX axles. Again, this guy is real wide. FCX axles and the Enjoras. These are the Enjora tires. So if you have just a regular Max Smasher, let me grab a regular Smasher. So there's a Smasher with Smasher tires. It fits perfect. So it does fit the stock Smasher tires perfectly. So if you're looking for a monster truck using the stock Smasher or even the wider Enjoras and you're okay with like tucking it in, but this is probably going to be like the widest trailer you're going to get. Most of the trailers out there are not this wide. Because they just don't fit scale-wise for the 1/18ths, and they definitely don't fit for the 1/24ths. Because it's a wide one. Let me get like a normal SCX. So there's a normal SCX Bronco. There's quite a bit of space on there. Then here's a wider truck. This is on the Enjora Plus 4s. It's a SCX Low Guy Racing Ripper on the Enjora Plus 4s, like I said. I mean, kind of awesome. Looks like we can fit our 6x6 dually on there. Yeah, buddy. 6x6 dually can go on there. That's an SCX 24 platform. So those are SCX 24 regular axle housings, but dualied. So it does widen it up quite a bit in the back. All right. Just to give you an idea. CR18P rock van. CR18P Evo Harvest. It's basically the same width. If you widen them up a little bit though, you still have room on the trailer. Pretty nice. Then we got this guy. He's just barely fitting on there lengthwise. So that's more appropriate. This is the FMS 1/18th, right? So that fits well, actually. The dually, however, too long. Well, no, we cut the bed off, so actually we do fit. Not the dually, the 6x6, excuse me. If we had the bed on there, it would not fit. Maybe we'll use the 6x6 to pull this guy. Maybe? I don't know. All right, we got to figure out what we're going to mount it on and then get you some running video.
We had a blast with this thing. It just looks so cool, and it's big enough to fit pretty much any of the trucks that we run. It does look a little out of place if you're gonna run one of these little guys on there. Could almost set them side by side and do two. But if you're running an 18 scale like it's advertised, they are perfect, which is super cool. I love the ramps. The ramps are awesome. I wish more trailers came with ramps. The lights are great. You know, being able to have the hazards or the regulars, fantastic. Everything about this trailer has been super quality. So I have two complaints or downsides, I guess. One is it didn't come with a hitch, right? Like a front hitch. We ended up popping the pivot ball out of here and using it on our K5 hitch that came with another trailer. And the cantilever trailer, it came with a perfect size for this, so we just popped the ball out and it worked. So I wish this came with a hitch. All trailers should come with even a basic hitch, just two holes that we can screw into the body if we want or whatever. Just, it's annoying to not have a hitch, especially if you buy a trailer and you're like, well, there's no hitch. So that would be nice to have. So my second complaint is the tires. I mentioned earlier in the video, they'd probably be fine. We wouldn't have to glue them because they're not bead locks. They do pop off much easier than I expected. So I ended up, you can see the glue on my hand. I ended up, I have some black tire glue. We tire glued them on and they're fine now. Totally fine. So just drop a couple beads of super glue in there. You don't have to use tire glue, just some basic super glue. Put it on the two grooves that are in there. There's two channels. Put your beads in there, let it set, and you're good to go. Without that, they do kind of pop off a little easier than we wanted. So that's my only other complaint. Other than that though, fantastic build quality. I mean, the trailer itself is just amazing. Everything went together pretty smooth. You saw, I mean, it's kind of a long video, sorry, but we wanted to show everything on this guy. And I just love the way it looks. The lowering is a must do. You can see how we lowered it there. Just to recap, we just flipped it to the inside and we did not use the spring blocks or axle blocks or whatever you want to call them. Basically just mounted them straight to the leaves. And there's been no issue with that at all. I mean, we ran it a lot more than what the video showed. And they're still nice and tight. We still have plenty of travel, right? Fantastic. Worked great. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, all those things that you should do at the end of videos you like. Hopefully you like this one. Hopefully you'll give us that sub. It's just a click for you, but it means the world to us. We're trying to hit that 20K mark. It's a ways away. We're only at 5.5 right now, 5,500. We're going to hit that 20K, just a matter of how long it's going to take us. So you could expedite that by hitting that subscribe button. Also, it lets you know when all the new content comes up. So does the notification bell. That way, when a new video is posted, it'll let you know. We also have channel memberships. If you really want to help support the channel, you'll get to see the videos without ads early. Also, there's some different perks for the different tiers. Check that out, channel memberships. And we're running a contest right now. We're about a month in. I think not really a contest. It's just a giveaway. But we have a giveaway. So check that out. And hopefully it's not too late for you to get some entries in that giveaway. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. And yeah, build something awesome. Build a car, build a course, build a community, and then smash it, crash it, and bash it. But don't break the expensive parts.